welcome to Chops and Pops. It is August 9th, 2015, and all the sights and sounds to be seen and heard, you are here with us. Thank you so much for listening here on our YouTube channel. I am Andy.
Dramatic pause. And I'm Shane. We don't have Andrew here today, and that's what I dedicated the dramatic pause for. But
That was for you, Andrew.
yeah. Andrew's handling some family business for sister's birthday, so we're just gonna do things a little bit different this week.
Yes, it was kind of a slow week for us.
Very slow week. We just went through everything that's happened in the past 7 days, and we basically came up with nada. There was not much, but
Luckily, we have Ultima Lucha.
I feel like we should have like Spanish music playing in the back.
That was a terrible trumpet impersonation. So yeah, we watched Ultima Lucha today, and man, I wish I had cable.
Yeah, we never, we haven't dedicated a lot of this show to Lucha Underground. I think we've talked about it once or twice. We ourselves didn't dedicate enough to this show of watching it on a weekly basis out of pure laziness. I mean, I could have gotten around to it, and I probably should have. I know that it's done better than a lot of other wrestling programs. But yeah, the whole cable thing. It's like I do watch a lot of stuff on the internet, but when I can't just flip to it sometimes, I procrastinate, and then, episodes build up. But anyway, the whole point is Ultima Lucha was this week.
Yes.
And it's like their WrestleMania, which
they've
only been around for a year. It's not on pay-per-view or anything, but they did a 2-hour special. They actually did 2 different parts, which I was unaware of when I first brought this up. Part 1 was last week, Part 2 was this week, and Part 2 was a 2-hour special. But yeah, it's like their WrestleMania of the year. And what did you think of it, Andy? As a first impression,
It was
really
quite
catching
fantastic. I think I watched the first episode, like when it first aired, and I was like, this is really cool. I might check this out. And then I forgot about it.
And time just passes.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, this is the end of the season. It's like, what do you mean the end of this? Oh.
You're not used to that in wrestling with seasons ending and things like that.
No, but what an ending. It really left you wanting more. There was a lot of questions unanswered. There was a title change, a new title. It was fun. Really exciting. Like, very well, like, really high production values. It was great. Really great.
Which kind of brings on the whole point of it only being one season and you not being used to that with the wrestling business, is that it's really done more like a TV show than it is just a wrestling show, which is smart, which goes back to the whole Max Landis thing about wrestling not being wrestling. It's a TV show about wrestling. Lucha Underground gets that, and they do it very, very well.
Very well.
But yeah, we watched Ultima Lucha. We watched Part 2 just now. I caught Part 1. Andy didn't. It was... the opening match was the Mac, which is Willie Mack, who made a name for himself in PWG. He was actually signed to WWE at one point and just got released recently because of some sort of health issue. But it was the Mac versus Cage, which is Brian Cage, who's another big indie guy. Just overall, all these matches are done so well with their storytelling, with everything.
I'll tell you, I didn't really know a lot of the stories, but just watching the Pentagon Jr. Vampiro match, I got like goosebumps at the end of it, and I didn't know anything about the story, but like the ending was just like, whoa. It's just very, very well done, and like the packages leading up, because it's presented like a movie. It's very
cinematic.
Very cinematic.
Yeah.
Somebody died. They killed somebody.
Right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm not used to that kind of stuff. You don't kill people on a wrestling show. That's amazing.
Well, the biggest compliment I can give as a review of this is that everything is done with a purpose. And that rings true with the Vampiro Pentagon Jr. match. And it also rings true with the opening match, which was Johnny Mundo and Alberto El Patron. Because that's sort of the thing with the Vampiro and the Pentagon Jr. match, is that death matches can just be the same thing over and over, and it's all about the blood and guts, which is cool for some people, but you've seen one death match, and most of the time you've seen all of them. You know what I mean? And you talking about the way that you got goosebumps watching that match is just that they gave purpose to the intensity of a death match. It wasn't just guy A versus guy B, and he smashes light tubes over him. There was this whole story over why this got to be so violent. It wasn't just violence for the sake of violence. It was, of all the stories going on in the world of Lucha Underground, this was the match that was brutal.
Yeah.
There was brutality, But and then with the other point I want to make is when Johnny Mundo had his head smashed through the window of the door.
That was wild.
Bleeding very, very bad. And again, gives purpose to it. That there's so many times in wrestling where you see blade jobs, and it's just a guy gets thrown into the ring steps or the ring post, which I'm very sure a ring post could crack your head open. But you see all the typical cliche ways that wrestling gets it done, and when you see a guy get his head slammed through a window, think to yourself, yeah, that's gonna cut a guy open pretty bad, and it just gave purpose to the whole thing. But did you have a favorite match of Ultima Lucha? I mean, we talked a little bit about Mundo, Patron, Vampiro, and Pentagon Jr. was just a very special thing in itself, and we could go on about that.
I really liked the main event between Mil Muertes and
Prince Puma.
Prince Puma. Okay, I was gonna say Puma Jr. I'm like, that's not right.
There's a lot of juniors on the show,
but that was terrific. That was really, really great.
It was that classic battle of good versus evil, of small guy underdog versus big guy bully, you know, and
it was, and gosh, he's a brutal dude. What was the thing?
Muertes is a little Lesnar Jace.
Yeah,
a little bit,
with some like Taker thrown in with the colors and the Power Stone.
Right. And Katrina, her and her licking, which
is a much visually more attractive version than Paul Bearer.
quite a bit. Nothing against Paul Bearer, rest his soul, but yeah, she's a little easier on the eyes.
Yeah.
But actually, speaking of the women involved with Lucha Underground, we're forgetting Johnny Mundo brought out the surprise of Melina, who we haven't seen in like 5 years, like a half a decade. She came, ran out, interfered in the match. She also got spanked by El Patron.
Yep.
So I guess everything was taken care of.
Yeah. And then I see another thing I was kind of blown away with, that there was a 7-person match for a title. And
I know there's Lucha Underground fans wanting to like smack us in the face right now for not having this stuff straight, but I think it was the gift of the gods.
It was gift of the gods. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I didn't want to like say something stupid, but it was shocking to me because there was a woman in the match, like
Sexy Star.
Yeah, mixed in with the guys, and that's not something I'm used to seeing. Normally in like intergender matches, it's women versus women, and when you tag in a woman, they fight each other.
Right.
So it was she held her own, I'll tell you.
Well, I think she already had a history of doing so with her Mexican wrestling when she was in AAA. And then when Lucha Underground did its thing, they realized to not really go against the grain on that, not specifically make some sort of a women's division. They, like I said, they have Katrina, they have Ivelisse. Now they could potentially have Melina, because Melina's not just some wrestler's boyfriend. She's a great wrestler herself. But yeah, they just mix them in with the guys. Anything else about the 7-way? There was Sexy Star was in it. Phoenix was in it, who I like Phoenix. He ended up winning the match. King Cuerno. Bengala dresses up like a kitty cat. Like a kitty cat.
Kitty cat?
Is there something that reminds us of...
Oh, I miss Tyson Kidd so much.
That's our Bengala sound effect from now on.
Bengala!
But there was Big Rick, who is Ezekiel Jackson from the WWE, Jack Evans, and Aerostar. And, any multi-man match like that gets pretty spot-heavy, but it was good.
Yeah.
For what it was. Aerostar was the one who fell like 3 stories
That was
above.
awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome. He fell like 3 stories onto those guys, and that was wild. And, God, there was so much. And then, like, the ending of everything, like the end where they kind of were just like, wrapping up, and they were kind of like, I guess,
The cliffhanger.
yeah, like hinting at what was to come. Listen, there's a dragon guy, okay?
Drago.
He is literally, he flew off, and then that Aerostar guy looks like he took off like a rocket after him, which was the craziest thing ever. But that's awesome. That's so awesome. I wish they would sell it as like a DVD. I would pay like $100 for that DVD set.
That's what a lot of people have said now that Ultima Lucha finally aired, is that where's our season 1 disc?
Yeah.
I don't even want a best of.
Just give me the whole thing.
They should truly just give season 1. I mean,
how many episodes were there?
They started taping in October, and they just wrapped up in August. So 10-month run.
Okay.
There might have even been a little block where I think they might have been off for a couple weeks.
All right.
So let's see, 9 times 4, 36. We're talking about like 40 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
With commercials taken out, probably 45 minutes an episode. I'm doing math right now. I'm sure this is wildly entertaining for our listeners. So 2 episodes is like an hour and a half.
Okay.
So an hour and a half times 20 would be 30 hours.
That's
is that
not
right?
bad.
Yeah, 30
I mean, if you
hours.
think about it, like, look at
Give us like a 6-disc set.
Yeah.
I'll buy it.
Well, look at Dexter. Dexter's like an hour-long show. There were 22 episodes a season. You know, like that's not.
It's
too,
a TV show, and
that's
people
not too far off from that.
Yeah, I mean the way that they've presented it as a TV show more than a wrestling show, I would think also that for a TV show you're not going to release a best of. You're just going to put the season out. So yeah, let's start a petition. We want season 1 of Lucha Underground on DVD or Blu-ray or anything just to watch it.
Yeah. Blu-ray would be great. You could put it in like a special edition. It could come in like a lucha mask. That'd be wild.
And let's give a round of applause for Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah,
for
just
putting together just fantastic wrestling shows for us to watch.
Let's give it up for Robert Rodriguez being just a fantastic person.
Yeah.
Just a great filmmaker. Just a great guy willing to take risks. And I think he succeeded. I mean, I've literally seen the first and the last episode of this season, and I like both of them. So
yeah,
that's
everything in between was pretty good too.
So
not that I even saw everything. I only caught
I've
bits and
read
pieces.
so many good things about this season, like the Iron Man matches, the coffin matches, like
the coffin match. I know every Lucha Underground fan would say that was probably the match of that show in general. And even a match of the year contender, and I need to watch that casket match that everyone's been talking about, which I believe, again, I'm saying things that I know are going to make certain fans want to smack us for not knowing, but I believe it was a Mil Muertes match.
I think
the
it
casket
was.
match. I think, and I want to
think
say it was Phoenix that he fought.
Because they referenced it in the build-up to the main event.
Right.
So they showed him being pushed into a casket, which I don't know if that was the ending, so maybe it's a spoiler. I don't want to say it was, but maybe.
No, I don't think so. But yeah, it's just. I mean, how many different ways can we say that it's just well done? It's that cinematic quality added to wrestling that, if you compare it to WWE, because WWE is the wrestling company with the biggest budget, like the biggest production value. They really just, use their muscle in terms of we have this big fancy equipment. And don't get me wrong, I still think WWE shoots a great show. I'm not one of those people who craps all over Kevin Dunn. Just, WWE could do it better. It's some great production stuff. But then you see somebody like Robert Rodriguez who, you say is just a great person in general as a director. And he's somebody that does it very independent style, but still with a very big budget. And you've learned now, it's like, for all those times you've ever sat in a movie theater and thought, as a wrestling fan anyway, sat in a movie theater and thought to yourself, like, what if wrestling was shot like a movie? Like, instead of just the live event, sporting event that we get, like, because storytelling's such a big part of it, that what if, like, you saw a wrestling match as in movie quality?
Yeah.
Like, I remember people talking about, like, what'll be the, what will it be like when the day comes where WrestleMania is shot like a movie? Lucha Underground.
Why isn't WrestleMania shot like a movie? Like,
I
honestly,
think they
in
try.
Lucha, they had this one camera just above the ring, and that is like perfect. I know WWE has tried it, and their camera always comes out blurry and it looks weird. They just did it, and it was like beautiful.
Well, to be fair, the one thing we do have to point out that's a little different is WWE shoots their stuff live.
Right.
Lucha Underground got to edit this. WWE still does have edited programming like SmackDown, Main Event. That's all taped. I guess that's part of it, but I do think there is part of it too, where like WrestleMania has tried to become more cinematic, and I definitely think there are some incredible camera shots that they get and some innovative stuff they've done. But watching Lucha Underground, you realize like there's a whole different way you could do this, and it really will feel like you're watching a movie or a show, you know.
And the cuts were quick, and there were so many cameras from so many angles, and the fan reaction shots were great. It didn't feel like they were just like sometimes the WWE will cut to fans and they'll just be like looking around and like not really like reacting. Every time they cut to the audience, there was like remember when the streak was broken, everyone's face was like what? Like every like shot to the audience was people's faces just like blown away. It was amazing.
It's almost like a video game,
yeah.
You know, because a video game, you know, you just put in the reaction that you get like the perfect reaction. It's like you get all of the perfect reactions you need for what they tape in the temple.
Just tremendous. I know I brought this up before, but it was like that show that I used to watch that I can never remember the name of, but I'm just going to keep referring
to it. Oh, WMAC Masters. Masters. That was a comparison that a lot of people pull. Even when I first watched it, that was one of the first things I thought of. That, yeah.
What a great show that was. Man. If anybody has any information about where I can find DVDs of that, please send it to our email.
I have at least one VHS tape, like the original, like not anything I taped from television, like the actual tape release. And I might have a second one, but I know for a fact I have one. And WMAC Masters was so good.
It was so cool, and it was perfectly timed because it was right when like the Mortal Kombat movie was out, and it was like right with like fighting games getting big, so it was like very good timing on their part.
And it wasn't even technically a wrestling show. It wasn't a wrestling show at all. It was
actually like karate.
It was like a kung fu battle show, and like that's the whole point. It was like Mortal Kombat come to life, and again another comparison you could draw from Lucha Underground. Yeah,
just great.
There's so many. Like all we'll just do is praise this and look like fools for not having followed season one. We're both guilty of it, and yeah, we want a season one. So to review, we want a season one disc release.
Yes,
we want season 2 to come back for sure. And we need to watch that casket match and go back and watch a lot of the
and more of that Drago
episodes.
guy.
Oh yeah, Drago.
Definitely more of that because listen, I know you mentioned that he was a dragon.
Oh no, legit dragon.
Legitimately, he flew off and he breathed fire and it. Gosh, that's what. Because you know the WWE paints these larger than life characters. That's a dragon, man.
That is larger than life.
That's amazing. Just, I know wrestling's ridiculous. I get it. They're doing it, but they're taking themselves dead serious, and I like that. I like that a lot, and I like the masks, and I like that people can die. I don't know why that's important, but I feel like
they do kill characters.
That like makes it so much more tense. Like
it's weird how it like walks that fine line of fact and fiction to where it makes it more fictional because it's now a wrestling show that can include deaths and murders, but it's more real because since you know it's a show about wrestling, it's like the whole point is it's like this whole Mexican mafia thing running the temple, and if you're going to give me a show about that, the mafia, you know, isn't going to take people lightly, you know. It's not going to be booking people to do certain things. They're going to whack a couple people, you know.
Having just finished Game of Thrones, it's very striking in a comparison to Game of Thrones, where Game of Thrones prides itself on not conforming to the tropes and stereotypes of fantasy, where like you're never afraid the hero's going to die because he's the hero. It's a fantasy story. He's going to survive. No, Game of Thrones doesn't do that. No, they will get stabbed front and center, and it is brutal, and it gets hard to watch.
And that's kind of how Ultima Lucha ended.
And
was Prince Puma, the ultimate hero of the company, the good guy, gets taken out by Mil Muertes and loses his championship.
And licked.
And licked by Katrina. Yes, he did.
Man, what a show.
It was great. It was definitely worth watching and reviewing, especially on a slower news week where we don't feel there's a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah, it was kind of, I mean, especially after last week with everything that happened with Roddy Piper and some more fallout from Hogan and all that stuff. This was kind of like random news, like weird stuff, which we'll get to a little bit later. But we've been talking a lot
about Mexican culture.
About Mexican culture, which I love Mexican culture. Having been to Mexico, Chichen Itza, super cool place to go.
To our Mexican listeners. I think there might have been a few people from Mexico who listen. Maybe we'll get a few more talking about Lucha
Lucha. You guys are great.
Underground.
Keep it up. So, America is where we live. Most specifically, New Jersey. So there was this Republican debate. Donald Trump, how do you do it? Is it the hair? Is it the tone or the resonation of your voice, which is spitting some frankly hateful stuff? Or is it just the complete confidence that you have when you say this stuff? Because your numbers go higher and higher every week. Is it because people think you're funny? Is it because they think it's a joke and that's like, I'm going to vote for Trump? Are you really going to vote for Trump? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Get it together, America, or the boss could be running your life. And surprise ending, kids. You're fired. So, get smart, get educated, and get to those polls come election time. America. Wow, I talked the entire time.
That was good. I like it better like that than the dramatic cutoff.
Much better.
Speaking of the Mexican citizens who do cross the border to come to America, the ones who get legal work visas, you know what? That actually directly connects with what we were just talking about. Mil Muertes is one of those Mexican superstars who gets a work visa, who comes from Mexico to come to America to work to entertain people like us for shows like Ultima Lucha. So, what I'm proposing is that if Donald Trump would like to get into a ring with Mil Muertes...
Oh my God. He's going to kill him.
Yeah. That could be rough. I think even Watson's crying over that one. He doesn't even want to... He doesn't want to
Watson.
witness that.
Just such a baby. So, we talked a little bit about America, and so far it's been a pretty uplifting episode, and I hate to bring it down, but sometimes, just sometimes you gotta... hit him with that big hand. I could not find a clip of the one from NXT.
Of ZZ?
Yeah.
You mean Tough Enough?
Yeah, from Tough Enough. I am going to have to try a lot harder to get that clip.
We'll get it
because
eventually.
it was great.
Yeah, it was pretty good. You know what? Like every week, we have to chop some people, but this week, I'm actually really looking forward to chopping the person who I'm going to chop. So you go ahead.
Okay. So my chop is kind of just at Charlotte and Brie. Like, you should know better at this point. For a tag match they were having, you had Charlotte in the corner, and Brie went to hit her with an elbow, but Charlotte went to hit at the same time, and they kind of both saw each other swinging, and then they both stopped halfway like a bad kung fu movie and reacted like they got hit.
Bad miscommunication.
Bad. Especially, I mean, it's something I don't want to say I expect of Brie, but like it's not something that's out of the realm of possibilities for Brie. But Charlotte, you know better. Thank God Nikki was there and kind of like witnessed the aftermath and kind of like ran over and interfered a little bit to save it. So thank God for you, Nikki. Thank you.
I think Brie has kind of been overrated as a Divas wrestler. That everyone looked at the two personalities of hers and Nikki's, and people gravitated to like Brie being the more natural, not high maintenance one, that she, or the fact that she was the one with Daniel Bryan, the technical master, and Nikki was the one with John Cena, the guy who can't wrestle.
Right.
That everyone just already assumed like, oh, Brie's. I definitely think Nikki's better than Brie as a wrestler, and I don't think Brie would even be ranked that high as far as.
No, Brie. Man, they really booked her to look great last year, and nope. Nope. Now that there's much better talent in the ring with her, the chinks in her armor are much more apparent.
Yeah, definitely.
So who are you?
My chop of the week.
Chop?
This guy deserves it for more reasons than one, but my chop. And you don't know the history of this guy, and I don't really want to get into it for this show, but believe me, this guy deserves chops in more ways than one.
Okay.
Rob Feinstein.
Rob Feinstein.
Yeah. He is the owner of RF Video, which for those unfamiliar, RF Video was a video company that got popular in the mid-90s for selling ECW tapes, a lot of Japanese wrestling. Even though people did a lot of tape trading in the 90s, back in my old generation before the days of YouTube, you actually traded videotapes.
Right. Kind of like the Deadheads, where they would like tape shows and then trade cassettes.
Yeah, sort of like that. And RF Video was the first real company to be selling, legally at least, a lot of that stuff that tape traders were looking for. Predominantly ECW stuff. It was the main video company ECW went through. Anyway, Rob Feinstein ended up going to jail years ago. And Rob Feinstein was actually one of the original people that helped Ring of Honor get off the ground. We won't talk about his whole history. It's not very good. I actually thought the guy could have potentially still been in jail. But he's not. He's still out there, and I guess maybe he's still working with RF Video, the company he originally founded. But the whole point of why I'm chopping this guy, besides the million reasons that I could, last weekend, I believe it was Monster Mania, which I know Monster Mania was one of the conventions that was in town like a week ago around New Jersey. But it could have been another convention, but let's just, for the sake of the story, say it was Monster Mania.
Okay.
Rob Feinstein was there, I guess, as one of the vendors, and saw a vendor tape and table. I mean, not tape. Saw a vendor table, and there were a bunch of Roddy Piper 8x10 glossies. The news had just broken about Roddy Piper's death, and Rob Feinstein took it upon himself to buy every single glossy photo that was for sale at that table. Like a good 50 to 100, 200 photos of Roddy Piper. He then took them home and decided to sign them with his own handwriting and passed them off as Roddy Piper autograph photos and began selling them on the internet. You're a jerk. No! You are a real jerk, Rob Feinstein. And like I said, there's already reasons why I would chop you, call you a jerk, and, rip on you. But, yeah, that's a whole different type of low. You're scum.
Yeah, that's awful.
You're real scum for doing something like that, on top of the things you've done in the past. So, Rob Feinstein, you definitely get my chop of the week.
Wow, what a scumbag.
Yeah, I get that the wrestling business can be full of, some, I don't know what the word would be.
Unsavory characters?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Let's say that.
But that's a real low, man. That's a real low. Yeah, so chop of the week for Rob Feinstein.
Rob Feinstein, you stink.
Yeah, that one's a bummer. Let's cheer it up.
Let's cheer it up.
Let's do our pops
with some of the week. Hey, I'm so happy I fixed the volume on that. It has saved our ears. You don't hear it out there in the world, but we do, because our headphones are right here. It's the magic of the internet, folks. Be happy that you are on the receiving end of the magic. So, Pop, Last week I spoke about how my pop was Bullfit, which apparently was Bullfit Part 1. And this week on NXT, they had Bullfit Part 2, which was Bull Dempsey watching the clip of him, and he's like, I gotta try something else. And then he goes through like an actual training montage with like help from people, and it was just as cheesy without like the bright colors. Like it ended with him lifting a big tire and then standing on it, which it was really great because it started off the episode with him trying to bench something, and it looked like he like he was like gonna crush himself. It left you like kind of cliffhanger, and then like some time passed, and then he went back to it, and then it was great. It's I don't know where this is going with
he's basically played the chubby, out of shape guy, and now he's turning a new leaf and becoming Bullfit, Bull Dempsey of NXT.
Yeah, and I love it because I liked Bull. I liked him. I liked just yelling Bull.
I've been meh on the guy. Never saw anything that crazy, but he was nobody I would say I hated or anything like that. Or
he was really something different to me until Kevin Owens came in and then just did what he was doing, but like way better.
Yeah, and that was oh man, the timing of that too. Like Bull Dempsey really started to go downhill when he had that match with Baron Corbin, and that was one of the NXT pay-per-views. I think it was December of last year, so like 8 months
Wasn't
ago.
Wasn't that
whatever.
a no disqualification match too? And like nothing,
Yeah.
like there was like nothing was out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I forgot about that, but yeah, basically Bull botched the move when he was supposed to be clotheslined over the top rope by Baron, and ever since then he's just been in purgatory of like, you know, fans just turned on him, all that. So then at that very same pay-per-view was when Kevin Owens made his debut. So it wasn't a good night for Bull Dempsey.
For Bull.
Yeah,
but I like this. I like this a lot, even if it means he's gonna be like a larger Santino. I liked Santino. Santino was fun to watch.
it can be done the right way.
Yeah.
Throwing comedy into wrestling, it could either be really cheesy or have that bad after effect of not being taken seriously
Like
in the ring. Exactly. But then there's that fine line you can walk where you can be comedic but still be a character that people care about. And I think Santino was actually one of the best people to ever do it.
He was. It's such a shame that he had to call it quits early. You know.
Yeah,
I
really liked him.
It sucked for Emma too, because that kind of just stopped her dead for a while.
Oh, just being a comedic character.
Yeah. And then it was like, what are you going to do with Emma? It's like, take a break.
Right. Turned her into evil Emma.
I like the new dubstep theme. I'm down with dubstep, so that's the new WWE thing. You're evil, dubstep. That's I guess Vince heard it and was like, what is this noise? These kids.
Yeah.
Like shakes his fist at a cloud. Shane, your pop.
My pop of the week. I'm going to give an honorary pop. I tried to narrow it down to one, but I have to say, Ultima Lucha did enough this week to earn my pop of the week of saying that, you know, so well done. If we're talking about anything in the past 7 days, they definitely get a pop, so I don't want to not acknowledge that. But my particular pop of the week goes to Neville and Seth Rollins' match that they had on Monday Night Raw. Did you see that?
Was that the main event?
No, it was the opening, actually.
Really?
Seth Rollins came out. They did their dedication to Roddy Piper. Then Seth Rollins came out for a promo. And I know you must not have seen this because one of the best moments is something that I know you would rave about. They teased that Rollins was doing an open challenge for the WWE World Heavyweight title.
Oh, wow.
Okay, you didn't see this then. He was teasing of doing an open challenge to mock John Cena for his United States Open Challenge. And said that when he got it approved by Triple H, that the opponent had to be under 6 feet tall and had to weigh like under 200 pounds, something like that. So they teased that El Torito was getting a match against Seth Rollins for the world title. And as El Torito's music started playing, Neville's music changed and he came out and had a match. Awesome. Unbelievable match between the two of them. And since you didn't see it, I would recommend going back and checking it out. One of the most believable false finishes I've ever seen.
Well, the Red Arrow is one of the most protected finishers right now.
Well, he hits the Red Arrow, pins Seth Rollins, and from the camera angle, this is giving credit to WWE. It's the camera angle focused on the turnbuckle from him doing the red arrow.
Right.
So you're just completely tuned into Seth Rollins' shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And the ref does the 3 count, and Rollins' shoulders don't go up. And the audience just goes freaking nuts, thinking they just saw a Neville World Title win. Rollins had his foot on the rope, but the foot was completely out of the camera shot. So just everybody watching at home and everybody in that arena really thought Neville just won the world title. It was actually in San Jose, where I went to Raw the night after WrestleMania. Okay. It was their first time back there since Mania, and yeah, one of the most believable pin attempts I've seen in a good while. I know Andrew, I was texting Andrew, and Andrew even said he believed that one. Wow. But speaking of false finishes.
False finishes. You know, I mean, I wish we had time for it, but I mean, it's just
we
time
don't
just
even
slipped
have time
away.
for that.
So I guess we'll, take it to the ref.
But wait, there's more.
Snap.
Did you believe it?
No, probably not.
No, they don't.
At this
care.
point, you probably
They
don't believe the false finish. Because it happens every week.
It's literally the end of the show.
So we're going to just run down some of the stuff that happened this week that was newsworthy, but not big newsworthy.
Right. Worth mentioning.
Right.
I've been talking a lot, so I'm going to pass this one off to you since you're aware of it. Submission sorority. Tell us about what happened with that.
So the WWE must not understand the internet right now because they named the stable of Paige, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte the submission sorority, which is great because they all have really cool submission maneuvers. However, a quick search on Google will lead you to a not safe for work website.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and you can't do that. WWE.
Bada boom.
Because children are your primary audience in your eyes. So if a little kid goes to look for submission sorority looking for pictures of their favorite female wrestlers, they will be treated to something a little different.
So yeah, that was, and supposedly now they changed the name to PCB,
which is awful. I liked what they were calling them, the Power Buff Girls. I don't know what that would show up on Google image search, but I can't imagine there's that much with that because it just seems like a Powerpuff Girls. Like you might get like a picture of like the Powerpuff Girls with like bigger muscles. That's what I would think. But I'm kind of be a little naive on that kind of stuff because for the internet viewers out there, Rule 34, if it exists, there's porn of it. So yeah, I wouldn't surprise me if there was awful things with the Powerpuff Girls on the internet. So
name change.
Yeah, name change. Very important. WWE, check the internet.
Speaking of changes, though, there was a change to the main event of the Brooklyn event for NXT at the Barclays Center. Main event is for the NXT title between champion Finn Balor.
You could almost say that this stipulation raises the stakes.
Ooh.
It takes it up a step or two. It's a ladder match.
It's a ladder match now. Get the jokes, the puns.
See that? See what we did there? Ladder match. That makes it very interesting. I'm very intrigued to see how both of them would react because we really haven't seen a ladder match since like the Bo Dallas Adrian Neville ladder match.
Well, a specific ladder match. Like we get the Money in the Bank every year, but it's no. Ambrose Rollins.
Well, I mean for NXT.
Oh, for NXT.
For NXT,
yeah.
that's
right. Yeah, I mean, I was actually psyched enough between Owens and Balor just for the idea that I truly believe that their Tokyo match was potentially the match of the year, no matter what company or brand you're talking about. Huge fan of both guys, especially Owens, but Balor's up there as one of my favorites. And I think that Balor Owens 2 is enough to get psyched about, but then when you throw in the element of the ladder, it will be a completely different type of match now.
I keep having a nightmare of Owens powerbombing him off the ladder and killing him. And
Could happen.
That's like a
Could
nightmare
happen.
I've had this past
I
week.
hope
And
not.
It's because like Balor will go to like climb the thing and he'll just hit him with the pop-up powerbomb from the top of the ladder and that's it.
There's probably going to be something very brutal with this match. But I felt like the rematch sold enough in itself. But
Yeah.
throw ladder in there, and I'm highly anticipating it. I'm kind of looking forward to Brooklyn almost more than SummerSlam now.
Yeah, I don't know. SummerSlam's not really. I don't know. I'm worried about it.
Let's talk about it now, because that was going
Yeah.
to be one of the false finish items. The SummerSlam card got a little bigger. They threw in a
Yeah.
couple matches. We already knew Lesnar Taker. Rollins Cena seems definite now, and now it's going to be a champion versus champion match.
Hmm.
There's the tag match, the Wyatts,
Right.
Wyatt and Harper versus Ambrose and
I
Reigns.
hear the rumor for the Rollins Cena match is whoever wins, because it's champion versus champion, will relinquish the United States Championship to, I don't know, I guess like an open. I don't know how they're gonna give it. I guess they're just gonna like give it up and there'll be like maybe some sort of tournament for it, which it doesn't give away the ending at all, because I mean either way they'd have to give it up.
I even like the idea of if you win it fair and square.
Mhm.
I mean, nobody wants to see John Cena with more gold than he needs.
Right.
But
Well, won't this put him above or tie Ric Flair? Because isn't this the 16th title? This is it.
next World Championship win is his 16th. That ties
That's
Flair.
it.
But see, that to me almost makes things a little bit predictable, but maybe
Mhm.
not. Just in the sense that I feel like Cena's next world title win,
Right.
in the words of Trump, has to be huge.
Huge.
Has to be huge.
That's actually a
'Cause
pretty good Donald Trump.
I
I know you say you don't do good
I
in
don't like
that was pretty
puns.
good.
I just think that for it being number 16, there's got to be something special about it that we'll see from a mile away.
Right.
Or maybe they do the flip side of that.
Mm-hmm.
What if Sheamus cashes in? And Cena's
Yeah.
big 16th win, everyone's like, oh my God, it's 16th, he's tied with Flair. Oh,
Okay.
but he's not going to keep it.
Right.
That actually explains the double championship win. Because
Mhm.
if he wins the United States title, Sheamus cashes in, takes the world title away, and then you don't have to worry
Yeah.
about the idea of a guy having two belts. Sheamus cashes in on whoever wins it, takes the world title away, and then they just are left with the United
Yeah.
States title, whether it's Cena or Rollins.
I like that. I
Maybe.
like that possibility. We also get a Shield Wyatt family rematch, kind of.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I'm okay with that. I like everybody in the match. I think they kind of got the stronger members from both. I mean, I don't know. I love Seth Rollins, to tell you the truth, but I think Seth Rollins is doing his thing right now, and I think it'll be a fun match. I really hope they don't break up Roman and Dean and make them turn on each other. This should be like best friends forever. Like they should literally be BFFs. And like having Roman like call Dean crazy and have him like react, you can't do that. They have to be best friends forever. It's like it used to be like, you're crazy, but I love you. Believe that.
The
Like,
chemistry is believable
Yeah.
between the two of them.
they
And
definitely seem like friends.
You kind of nailed how I feel about it. I like everybody in the match.
Yeah.
And I think that the Wyatt-Reigns feud had a very believable storyline,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be too soon to just kind of wrap all that up.
Yeah.
So I think the transition has been smooth enough to where, yes, everybody wants to see Dean Ambrose on top. Nobody likes positions Reigns gets put in, or
Hasn't Reigns earned it at this point?
I
though?
think so.
Like
I'm not against the guy.
he's really great.
I think so.
Like literally since WrestleMania, he's like even Fastlane, he's been like great in pay-per-views.
But to be fair to defend ourselves, because especially for this being a show where we cover Ultima Lucha and put ourselves out there as guys who didn't follow Lucha Underground as closely as we should have,
right.
there's people out there that think, if they're following Lucha every week, and there's somebody who follows the WWE product, and that, if you like a guy like Reigns, you're seeing everything with blinders on. You know what I mean? That we're just Believe me, I don't buy into a lot of the crap that WWE can do sometimes, but I do defend things here and there. Point being is that us defending Reigns isn't just us being a couple of those guys who are the minority of Reigns fans.
Right.
It's like, it's what you just said. Fastlane.
Yeah.
WrestleMania's main event. The Big Show.
Yeah.
The guy nobody wants to watch. He pulled out a great match with The Big Show at Extreme Rules. Then even after that, Payback was that 4-way with the Shield members and the Orton.
Was great.
That was great. Reigns was consistently great in every single card. That, I'm not the guy who like looks and sees his like suffering succotash promos and thinks like, no, there's potential in the guy. No, I doubted him like a lot of people did. Guy's been on a roll for 2015, you know?
It's a good year for Roman Reigns.
Even the Wyatt match, the Battleground match he just had with Wyatt was good, you know?
Yeah. And I'm going to say that this is going to be a good match. If it was anything like the other Shield Wyatt family matches, this is going to be pretty freaking fantastic.
And we're nailing it with the transitions right now because we have another thing to discuss with Roman Reigns.
Holler.
Sort of breaking news. Breaking news because we taped this Sunday night and it just got posted a couple hours ago. A fan decided to hit Roman Reigns in the head with a briefcase.
Wild.
One of those Money in the Bank briefcases that they actually sell now, if you were unaware. The actual briefcase that you get when you win Money in the Bank. They sell as merchandise and it's like $80.
I was so mad they didn't have that when I went to my live show because I would have bought a Money in the Bank briefcase.
The only place I've seen it was the WrestleMania shop that they set up whenever they're in town. But yeah, that fan was an idiot, and they threw one of their briefcases that they own towards the ring. They nailed Roman Reigns in the head. He was about to have a match with Bray Wyatt at a live event, and Bray Wyatt had to stall in some way, shape, or form. I'm not sure how, but he stalled because Roman Reigns got knocked silly. Had to sit in the corner for a second and recollect himself, and you know, why? You ruin it. You ruin it for people like us who just want to go there and have a good time. That now security gets more intense from incidents like this, and
that makes shows less fun for us other fans.
Yeah, you're a jerk.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Rob Feinstein being such a fool, you would get my chop of the week.
Random guy that threw the briefcase. You are awful. You are just the worst. Just the worst.
Just the worst.
Like liverwurst, because nobody likes that. Except for people that do. And how?
How? That is the real question of the week on Chops and Pops. How do you like liverwurst? Send us an email. Let us know.
Anything else in our...
We have a couple. We're almost done, though. The 2K16 video entrance was really... You know more about this than I do.
They released a short, like, 2.5-minute video showing the entrances of Finn Balor as the Demon and Seth Rollins. And it looks fantastic. I mean, if you played 2K15, the entrances are pretty realistic looking. And I'm not going to lie, digitally... Balor's entrance is still pretty awesome. And the smoke is perfectly timed now because it's a video game and they can do that. So it like gets sucked in right at the it's just awesome. And you know Seth Rollins' theme is fantastic and he does his strut. It's great. It's really I mean I just hope the gameplay is better. From what I hear they're changing up the My Career mode, which is good because I had a lot of complaints with that in the last year's version, so I'm looking forward to it, but I don't know if I'm going to buy it right away. Even though the pre-order bonus is I get Terminator. I'm pretty sure I could just buy him for like 99 cents later.
Yeah.
So
see, my problem with the video games and having faith about the quality of them is every year they come out with a gimmick that you get incredibly psyched for. And I'm just starting to notice now that those gimmicks that they sell you on have nothing to do with the quality of the game. Like this year, it's about how huge the roster is.
Yeah.
It's like you could play as except for Hulk Hogan. You could play as every single wrestler you could think of that ever was in the WWE.
I haven't checked my 2K15 since this Hulk Hogan thing because...
Would they delete him?
Since he's a digital content add-on, they might actually be able to delete him from my game.
Let us know next week.
Oh my God.
Chops and Pops. I'm kind of curious now.
I've never actually had something like that happen to me. This is going to be wild.
Well, I don't think anything like that's ever happened to Hulk Hogan either.
Yeah. Wow.
But I don't think you finished reading it yet, but let's talk about the Yes book because you actually picked up a copy.
Yeah, I started reading the Yes book. I finally got around to going to my local Barnes & Noble.
Daniel Bryan's autobiography.
Yes. his journey to WrestleMania.
What?
The name of the book
I knew.
is...
Yes!
Right.
Yes!
Right.
Yes!
Correct.
Yes!
Is the title of the book.
Yes!
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So yeah, the name of the book is Yes, and it's by Daniel Bryan and another writer. His name escapes me right now, but he helps write a lot of the WWE books. And to me, the book is weird. Having read a couple of Mick Foley's stuff, he's a tremendous writer by himself, and it's weird because you have like sections of the book written by Daniel Bryan about his life, and then you have sections of the book written by the other author about following Daniel Bryan on the WrestleMania weekend. So it's very
unique, but
it's strange seeing the two voices so close to each other.
I mean, I think everyone would kind of say the same thing, that we'd all just want to get Daniel Bryan's perspective. But I get the idea that, well, he's not an author, he's not a professional author, and it's a book. You still got to read it like one,
And I'm only like, I don't know, like 30, 40 pages in, and it's most of the stories right now are about how he's not very good at talking. So it makes a lot of sense that there's a second person.
And you're sitting there reading his book as he tells you about how bad he is.
I'm not really good at talking. By the way, here's my book.
Right.
But so far it's pretty good. I'm a big Daniel Bryan fan, so it's a little biased, but so far it's pretty interesting.
I think everyone is.
I'm really excited to read about his years before WWE.
Right, the Ring of Honor time.
Like I have the American Dragon DVD set from Ring of Honor, which is great. But reading more about like the Japanese stuff, I don't have a whole lot of that.
Yeah,
so
he just did like tours here and there. I don't think he ever lived out there or anything, but
I'd like to hear like stories and more about the vegetarian stuff, because I know that there's a lot going on with him, like physically with that. So I mean, I've read a little bit, but learning more about like how he actually felt about it, as opposed to just people reporting that he did this and he did that. It's just like, yeah, I had to do this because I was dying. Like it's interesting to hear it from the person that it was happening to.
Right.
But so far, a good book. Definitely worth the money.
That's that. We'll talk about it again once you finish the whole book, and we'll hear about the overall review. But speaking of people who accomplish their dreams, see that segue?
Wow.
It's now this is the last thing, and then we're gonna wrap things up unless you have something to throw in. Matt Tremont won the world title last night at the CZW pay-per-view. Congrats to him. He defeated Black Cheese in an impromptu match. Wasn't even a world title match scheduled. Came out, challenged him, put his own paycheck on the line, saying that he would give him his paycheck if he lost, because Cheese was just going to walk off and not give him the title shot because he didn't have to. But yeah, that's something they've been building up to for a long time now. I hope one day that we actually can get somebody like Tremont, because I do know a couple people who are pretty cool with him, and I know he's running his own wrestling convention, and I want to say like September or October in South Jersey.
Oh, wow.
So I know he's going to want to promote that. Matt Tremont, I know you're not listening right now,
but if
we
you
would
are,
love to have you on the show, especially as world champion now.
Also, if anybody listening knows him, tell him or her
to
shoot us an email at chopsandpopspodcast@gmail.com.
So congrats to Matt Tremont, and I think that's the perfect way to wrap up this show.
Yes. That about does it here. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. I am Andy. Best way to reach me would be here at our Chops and Pops podcast at gmail.com. Chops and Pops podcast at gmail.com. Check it out.
Dramatic pause.
This is where Andrew would be telling you to go to our Twitter account, which is also Chops. It's at Chops and Pops podcast.
Is it? Or is it Chops and Pops?
I believe it's at Chops and Pops.
Okay.
But just when you go to Twitter, type in Chops and Pops podcast, it'll pop up. I typed it onto my Twitter. I'm a follower. How about that?
There you go. That works. And I'm Shane, and hopefully we get a little bit more of an eventful week this week. I mean, don't get me wrong, Ultima Lucha was great.
Very good.
And I'm glad we got to watch that and talk about it. But it's kind of a slow news week. So next week, we'll come at you with something new.
Right. So, thank you for listening. I am Andy. Take it easy.
Lucha.